faces stretched taut against the freezing wind. Dr. Weinberg's office is as elegant as a Chelsea art gallery. Abstract lithographs in hushed silver frames decorate the waiting room. The receptionist peers out from behind a tall, slender glass vase stocked with impossible-looking South American orchids, pearly white with a faint pink flush and deep jaundiced yellow throats. The doctor herself is an inordinately well-preserved 50-something with high cheekbones, a narrow burgundy mouth, and hair that seems to have suffered a serious shock mid-fluff. After a few preliminary questions, she set about prodding my stomach, pushing hard under my ribs and diaphragm. She produced a coiled fabric tape measure and measured from my pubes to just above my navel. Then she slid across the floor on her wheelie stool, leafed through the pages of a large pink file, and finally looked at me over the rim of her rectangular steel spectacles. "You're measuring small," she said. Huh? I thought. "I'm enormous. Children point at me in the streets. Workmen, oh so kindly, tell me the way to the hospital. I wear trousers with huge nylon gusset panels in the front and extra folds of elastic hidden in the waistband. And by the evening, I still feel like I'm strapped into an instrument of torture. Small," I said to her. "Small. In relation to what?" She explained that the top of my uterus wasn't where it should be, i.e., halfway to my chin, and sent me for an immediate ultrasound. I called Tom, my husband, in case I develop really galloping Alzheimer's in the future, in a panic from the waiting area, but before he could leave his meeting at the federal courthouse, I found myself in a darkened sonography room 3 doors down from Dr. Weinberg's office. A heavy-set, expressionless woman, with short, greying, ash-blonde hair, a white coat and loose beige trousers glanced up at me as I entered. She looked as if she'd spent most of her life underground. Her pale, round face gleamed oddly in the grey-white light of a computer monitor. "Onto the table, please," the woman said, nodding curtly at the examining couch beside her. She turned away and busied herself finding and inserting a disk into the computer, which whirred and clicked respectfully. I heaved myself up and exposed my white whale belly, feeling suddenly vulnerable, longing desperately for a bit of reassuring girly chatter. "Nothing to worry about, I'm sure. I see this all the time. It's no big deal." No such luck. The technician squirted half a tube of thick blue, sickly warm gel onto my stomach, then picked up a hard, pestle-shaped probe without saying a word. After 40 minutes of staring at a flickering black-and-white image, she told me tersely that my fluid level was low. "What does that mean?" I asked the whites of her eyes. The woman shrugged as she flicked off the monitor and ejected the disk. "Your amniotic fluid is low," she said, not entirely helpfully. "Weinberg will discuss it with you, okay?" I wasn't sure if it was okay or not, but I was clearly being dismissed. The woman obviously had no intention of explaining things further and disappeared off into the corridor. The oversized door banged shut behind her. Left alone in the darkness, I wiped the slithery blue goo off my stomach with a large wad of scratchy paper from a dispenser above the couch, then pulled up my synthetic maternity trousers. Low fluid didn't actually sound too bad, I thought, as I swung my legs carefully off the hard blue examining couch. It wasn't as if there was anything wrong with the baby. I'd seen him on the ultrasound screen, tiny limbs striking out, the sole of a foot flat for a second against the probe, 5 white toes in one perfect arc. He looked healthy to me. I returned to the doctor feeling optimistic. Usually, Dr. Weinberg looks up at me with a vague, only half-interested expression, the sort that medics always seem to wear when greeting their basically healthy patients. But this time I noticed an alertness about her, a sharpness in her face, her eyes, as if she was seeing me properly for the first time, and perhaps I was looking at her properly for the first time myself. There was a pause, and then she cleared her throat. It was beginning to dawn on me that things weren't good. "Charisse just called me," she said, her voice deliberate and even. "The baby needs amniotic fluid to develop properly, and you don't have enough of it. Either your fluid level has to rise, or we'll be delivering him 14 weeks early." Tom knocked at the door just in time to administer a brown paper bag. When I stopped hyperventilating, he asked the obvious question. This stuff, this amniotic stuff, how do we make more of it? Bed rest, was the answer. Strict bed rest, for the duration of the pregnancy. You can lie on the sofa or in your bed, but I don't want you walking or lifting or even moving more than you need. 1 shower a day, you can sit up for dinner, come to see me, and that's it. The good news is the baby seems fine so far, Dr. Weinberg said reassuringly, a flush of sympathy suddenly softening her face. It's not all bad news, mein Bubbler, she added. The cover lifted, and for a second, I saw the ghost of her real personality. A person at a dinner party, a mother, a sister, a daughter. Cherise found no signs of a genetic deformity, and the baby's kidneys look healthy, so I think it's just your placenta that isn't working right. Lie on your left side to help the blood flow to the umbilical cord, and hopefully the situation will improve enough to allow him to develop quite normally. Hopefully, she repeated, with meaningful emphasis. There are no guarantees here, but you can make a big difference by obeying my directions to the letter. I don't want to run across you in the spring sale at Bloomingdale's, versteh? She shooed us out with kindness. Come now, children, chins up. You'll get through this, yes? Yes. As we crawled along 3rd Avenue in a cab toward our apartment on East 82nd Street, flakes of snow began whirling in the currents of air beneath the orange street lamps like schools of tiny fish in an amber sea. Through misted, icy windows, I watched people rushing along the slippery sidewalks, some protecting their heads with briefcases, others holding up sodden copies of the New York Times with purple fingers. I tried to lean on my left side in the hard back seat and looked over at my husband. Tom was punching messages frantically into his BlackBerry, his shoulders hunched beneath his navy wool overcoat, his spotty tie askew. He kept pushing his fingers distressfully through his curly black hair, his lips moving rapidly but silently as he typed. Feeling my eyes on him, he looked up, and he must have seen the expression on my face because he reached for my left hand and squeezed it hard. Sorry, honey. I've got to send off these messages. I was in the middle of something when you called. Hey, he added, softly, drawing me towards his shoulder. Don't look like that. Don't cry. You'll be fine. The baby'll be fine. Everything's going to work out. I'm sure of it. I buried my head in the dark, comforting place beneath his chin and inhaled his sweet, warm smell. He held me close, whispering reassurance into my hair. We'll get through this. I promise. Back in our apartment, I curled up on my left side on the yellow Liberty print sofa in our sitting room. Tom emerged from our bedroom after a few moments with the blue and grey wool blanket, which he spread carefully over me, tucking it tightly under my toes and around my belly. Then he went into the kitchen, filled a large jug with water and ice cubes, and placed it on the teak table next to the sofa. He stooped down to kiss me lightly on the forehead. Nothing to worry about, I'm sure of it, he said once again, his voice steady as he settled himself in the leather armchair facing me. But as he turned away from my side, I saw, I may be mistaken, but I think I saw, that his eyes were filling with tears. It's now been 7 hours since we left the doctor's office. We've called everyone we can think of, my mother and sisters in England, Tom's parents in Baltimore, his brother and sister-in-law in Sacramento, and an assortment of friends. I prefer to tell the story myself. As long as I'm the one describing it, I can sort of pretend to myself that I'm making it up, exaggerating for the sake of the attention. I can still be the person I thought I was 12 hours ago, a woman who had checked off at least some of the important boxes on the modern woman's list of things to do before hitting 30. That mental list all late 20-somethings carry around with them. Get good job, check. Marry handsome man with good job, check. Have healthy bank balance, check. Get pregnant, check. There are other boxes, of course, boxes I haven't managed to check, or that I've had to uncheck since becoming pregnant. Have sex 3 times a week, for instance, and be 10 pounds underweight. Both of those projects are on hold for now. Tom's father, Peter, is a surgeon, and he sounded quite calm about the amniotic fluid thing, which made us feel slightly better, until Tom pointed out that he's the kind of man who can make a Seinfeld joke while holding a dripping human heart in his hands. Nothing seems to rattle him. which is what you want in your surgeon, but not necessarily in your